Hey y'all, remember me? No, that's okay. I don't remember either if I was gone for like six, 6 or 7 months. Wow, that right off the bat, terrible joke to start this with, and terrible joke to come back to. I'd like to apologize for being on your screen right now. In all seriousness, though, it is so nice to see you all again. If you do not know me, my name is Paige, and I really, really like reading. Or at least I did until I had a 9-month long reading slump last year. I tried multiple times to get back into reading through the course of those 9 months, and it never worked out. It just never happened, and it was really upsetting for me. But recently, so I think it was like December 26th, I picked up the first book I have ever picked up in a really long time that I wanted to pick up and I wanted to read. I read it in 2 days, and I felt the need to pick up another book not related to this one. So I think it's safe to say that my reading slump is over. What book is that, you may be asking yourself? Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. Absolutely phenomenal. Did in fact get me back into reading. Thank you, Butcher and Blackbird, for your service. But we're not here to talk about the book. We are here to wrap up 2025 and make goals for 2026. Because if there is even a speck of I want to read in my brain, oh, you best believe I am back to making content. So without further ado, we are going to do just that by starting with wrapping up 2025. When I tell you to keep your hopes low, I mean keep them low. Really low as you can keep them. Because I went into 2025 with a reading goal of 150 books. Not only did I not hit that goal, but I only read 40. Some of which I personally was not going to count towards my reading goal, but because of how disastrous last year was, I decided it was okay. But with those 40 books, I read a total of 14,124 pages. Could not tell you if that's a lot or a little. I cannot remember 2024, and I can't remember a lot of anything actually. I don't remember a lot of what I read last year. I can tell you though that I had 2 5-star reads last year. The first of which was Woman in Me by Britney Spears, and the second of which was The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I do remember reading those books, and I loved them, and I'm going to keep that thought process in my heart as we go into 2026. Now, obviously, I just said I fell into a reading slump, and I literally did. After about May, June, I really didn't pick up any books at all, ever. There were a couple of months where I picked up 1 or 2 books, and I either didn't finish them so it didn't get tracked on Goodreads, or I finished it, but it was not really finishing the book because it was me trying to get back into reading, and I didn't want to. I was really forcing myself to read, which was so upsetting and disappointing to me because if you know me, I kind of like to read. I have an entire channel dedicated to it. It's almost like I like doing reading as a hobby or something crazy like that. Bonkers, if you ask me. You wanna know what else is bonkers, though? Last year. It was an epic fail. Can we just leave it at that and move forward into the world? Because I don't want to talk about it anymore. You're good with that? Fantastic. Awesome. Moving on, let's talk about 2026, baby, shall we? Now, I do have 6 reading goals going into 2026, which I know sounds like a lot, but it really is not. I promise. My first reading goal of 2026 is to read 36 books. I do know that 36 is less than 40. However, what I found was part of the issue last year of my reading is that I have too much adult responsibilities to be sitting down and reading as much as I was. Especially with all the other content that I want to make in my life, I do not have the time and love to dedicate to reading 7 books a week like I used to. So 36 books breaks down to 4 a month, and I feel like that is completely valid, completely able to be accomplished because that's 1 book a week, and I will probably read more than that, but I didn't want to stress myself out with too high of a goal. Because adding on to that, goal number 2 is that I want to read 20 middle school grade books. If you've been here for a while, this is obviously me repeating myself, but I have a whole lot of books that I have been carrying around since I was a wee little kid. I'm talking 11, 12 years old, and the only reason that I still have those books on me is because I still want to read them and know what the book is about. And those books are taking up a lot of bookshelf real estate right now, so if we could read some, get them out of here, and then cycle in some new adult books I'd like to read, I think that would be fantastic. Goal number 3 of 2026 is that I want to finish the year with only having 2 open series. Something I've noticed is that I have a really bad habit of starting to read series and never finishing them, which didn't bother me when I was reading 7 books a week because I would always get back to it eventually, but as I tapered off my reading in 2025, I definitely picked up more series, and I didn't finish them, and then I didn't finish ones from 2024 or even 2023, the year prior. And I have not counted up the series that I am in the middle of yet because I have a feeling it will stress me out. So we'll reconvene and come back to that. But I want to leave the year with only 2 open series. Goal number 4 for 2026 is that I do not want to force myself to read anything. I keep referencing 2024 when I was reading a lot, but bear with me because it's going to explain a lot. When I was reading a lot in 2024 and a little bit of 2025, I used to make videos that were like 100% planned out, and like this video's going to be me reading fantasy, this one's going to be me reading romance for February, like things like that. And I am not going to force that this year. I am just going to let myself mood read, and we're going to have some times together. What they're going to consist of, I have no idea, but I'm going to do my very best to not force myself, especially if I'm just not there, if I'm just not into it, you know? Because my top reading priority this year, which is also goal number 5, is to have fun. For a really long time, I felt like I had lost that joyous spark that I had for reading, and I definitely have it back now as we're heading into 2026, and I'm so excited to have it back, but I don't want to take advantage of it by just like drenching myself in like really sad books or reading books that I'm like, yeah, I could pick it up. When there's that book over there that I really want to pick up, why am I not picking it up? I feel like I have a tendency to wait for the perfect time to read the perfect book, and I need to stop doing that because I think I'm missing out on a lot of good books that I want to be reading. And with that, we are almost through the goals of 2026. Goal number 6 for 2026 is kind of out of left field. I want to have one 24-hour readathon in the great year of 2026. And when I say 24-hour readathon, I mean like sun up to sun up. 124 hours, not 124 hours, just 24 hours, 100 degrees around the 360 degrees around the clock. Wow. If I knew how time and space and numbers worked, this would be a lot easier to explain. But I don't want to split it up into 2 days and be like 12 hours and 12 hours or like 6 hours over 4 days. I don't want to do that. I want to do 24 hours, 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever time I pick. It's happening. I'm going to do it. My sleep schedule's ruined enough as it is. I might as well do this and see if maybe it will get me back on track. But those are the 6 goals that I have for my 2026 reading. I am so incredibly excited to dive into this year. So excited, in fact, that I actually I picked out 6 books from my physical stash that I want to read in the great year of 2026. If you know me, normally I would pick 26 books to read in 2026, but because of last year, I decided to just go with 6. I am also not giving myself the pressure of picking a monthly TBR right now, or maybe ever for this year. I might do seasonal TBRs. I don't know. I love making TBRs because I love working off of lists, but I also want, again, to have fun with my reading and have it be super open-ended, so we'll see how that goes. But for the 6 books that I did pick to read this year, I am excited, and I think that I will get to all of them because they're all like kind of calling to me a little bit right now. But this is not what I'm reading right now. Anyways, that aside, let's talk about these 6 books, what I know about them, how I feel about them, and all the fun things like that. First off, we have Bad Bishop by L.J. Shen. I don't actually know a lot about this other than the fact that it is a dark romance book, and I found this out when I added this one to my Goodreads. This is going to be a series, and the characters are based off of like parts of the chess game. Whoa, that was hard for me to say. So bishop is the bishop, and then there's a king and a queen and a pawn, and I think there's a knight, and maybe I don't know if there's a horse or not, and it might have a different name than horse. But like, oh, I love it. I want to know like what's the chess bit? Is there actually chess in it? Oh, it's mafia romance. Maybe that's what it is. Oh. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I have read more than Butcher and Blackbird since coming back from reading, and I have picked up a mafia romance, and gosh, do I love them, so now I'm even more excited to pick this up. But I don't know more than that. Oh, though it looks like this book is 400 pages. Woo! That's gonna be fun. Nonetheless, Bad Bishop by L.J. Shen, I'm excited to pick you up. You're giving me a lot of good vibes, and I want to see what they are. Secondly, still following the dark romance vibe, I have A Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This one I pulled off of my shelves because I feel like I've had it for a very long time, but this was only published in February of 2025, so I haven't had it on my shelves for that long. There are definitely dark romance books I've had on my shelves for longer, but for whatever reason, this specific one called to me. Once again, I like actually have no idea what this is about other than it's a dark romance. And even though I've never read Ali Hazelwood, I do trust her because I have a lot of her books on my shelf. I've heard really good things, and hopefully this is one of those times where I will agree with the majority of people who read books. Book number 3, so we are already halfway through the TBR. I have Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. This one also feels 100% out of left field for me, especially seeing as I've only ever read one Stephen King book in my life. But that book was Fairy Tale, and I loved Fairy Tale. I love the detail that he does in his writing, or I'm assuming he does in his writing, because I've always heard good things about his writing. And I've read one book, so clearly I'm a freaking 100% knowledge person, but no, I'm like really excited to read this. I also do want to, whoa, okay. I also do want to point out that I don't know if fairy tale was considered a horror. I think it was in like the genre section, but I think it was mostly leaning towards fantasy, which I'm glad I started with because I am really excited to read this, but it's for the detail and not for the fact of fantasy. Like I know this isn't going to be fantasy going into it, which I feel is important for me to say because the last one was a fantasy. This one is definitely not. This is definitely other side of the board, thriller, horror type situation, and I'm really excited for it. The fact that it's scary, which is weird for me because I'm normally not someone who's down with that. This one is a series too, and I unfortunately don't know much about it other than that it's Stephen King. But I picked it up because I think it was 2 years ago at this point. Stephen King published Holly, which was a book that everyone was picking up and saying was good. However, it post dates this series, and I believe it's with the same characters or in the same world or something. So I want to read Holly, but in my brain, I need to go back and read this series or trilogy first. It's just 3 books. So what better time to start it than 2026, the year of, I don't even know, what is it the year of? New goals, new dreams, new books, new adventures? We'll find out together, folks. We will find out together. Still following the fiction route, but a completely different part of the fiction route, we have Anxious People by Frederick Backman. This is one that I stole from my 2025 TBR. I am still so like enamored or pulled to the idea of Frederick Backman. I've never read one of his books before in my life, but from the good things that I've heard, I am expecting good things and I want to experience those same good things. Especially because since he comes across so well loved, he has a lot of books that I would like to pick up that seem to cover topics I would like, especially in that fiction section that I don't go into very often. And this one especially, I do know a little bit more about this book, especially more than I normally do when going into them. What I do know about this is that I think we see a bunch of different people's perspectives or thoughts on something as a bank robbery happens, and something along those lines. It is also apparently a Netflix series, so maybe I have to read the book and then watch the show. Oh my gosh, he wrote A Man Called Ove. I watched that movie without realizing it was a book, and that was a really good movie. I cried. So I guess this is like the emotional read that I have picked for the year, but nonetheless, I am very excited to dive into one of Frederick Backman's worlds. I'm sure I probably said this really when I was filming my 2025 TBR video too, but I want to understand and I want to be part of the Frederick Backman hype train, and this is me hopping out with y'all. Next up, we have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, I believe is how you say her last name. If I'm saying it incorrectly, I do deeply apologize, but words are hard, and that's a lot of letters. I picked this one because I was staring at my fantasy shelf, realizing that I really haven't picked a fantasy yet, and decided that I probably should. Especially because I feel like I read a lot of fantasy, I needed something on my TBR that was fantasy based. And this is the one that called to me. I picked this one specifically because I remember when I was buying this book, and I bought it because of a certain series I was reading at the time that people were comparing it to this, and that it was like the same vibe and gives like the same atmosphere, feel, and like book wiggle party or whatever, like a same vibe, you know? And I loved the vibe of that series, even though I can't remember what that series is even 2 days later than when I picked the CBR. I think it's more like 3 days later, but it's still, my point is that really good series that I liked. Picked this up because that one was a lot of fun for me. I really liked that series. This is supposed to be the same vibe, and I figured if it's close to a vibe that I already like, and we're going into a year where I don't want to be pressuring myself to read books that aren't fun, and I had fun with that, this would be fun too. Just in case you're wondering, that is literally how my brain works. That is literally my thought process. I hope it made sense to you as much as it makes sense to me. But I've never read the back of this book. I don't think I need to. I think it's pretty straightforward. She's going to stalk Jack the Ripper, and something's going to happen. I don't know if she kills him. Probably not, because it's a historic thriller. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe they'll kiss. I don't know. Actually, why is this on my fantasy shelf? Jack the Ripper is totally a real person and not fantasy. Doesn't have a since when do they not put publication pages in books? Hey now. Okay, there we go. Let's see here. Fiction, mystery. Jack the Ripper is fiction, history, fiction. It's a historical fiction. Oh, horror and ghost stories. Yeah, absolutely nothing to do with fantasy. Why is this on my fantasy shelf? Okay, so I officially have no fantasy books in my 2026 TBR, but Stalking Jack the Ripper is apparently going to fill that void for me. And last but definitely not least, we have The Love Haters by Catherine Senner. Seeing as I got a 5-star read out of Miss Senner last year, I figured it was time to bring another one to the table. I think this is the only book of hers that I haven't read yet, though, and she has a new one coming out this year, so I'll be okay, but I'm so excited to read this. I will probably end up reading this book in the summer just because of the obscene amount of summer vibes that the outside and the inside of the book is giving me. And just like everything else I ever pick up ever, I know nothing about this book, but it's Catherine Senner. So obviously I'm gonna like it. I don't know why I wouldn't. And because of that, there's literally nothing else for me to say. It's Catherine Senner. Done. But I hope that you enjoyed this little 2025 wrap up slash 2026 going forward vibe and TBR and kind of everything all rolled into one. I figured this would be better than like filming these individually, especially because of how terrible 2025 was. I want to get the ball rolling and like actually pick up books, you know? I know at the end of 2024 slash beginning of 2025, I definitely split it up. I think I had like 6 different books wrapping up and restarting the year because it was a huge reading year for me. But again, that didn't happen for me this year. Nonetheless, thank you so much for coming with me on this journey. I cannot wait to see what happens in the new year. Until next Wednesday, I hope that your guys' book worlds are treating you just as well as my treat me. Y'all stay safe, happy, and healthy until then, and I cannot wait for another reading adventure with you. Doodles!